Hello and welcome. This is Hackett-Bauer again, and here's my presentation, Mod 10, helping students realize their learning norms. The objective, to learn the 10 steps to help students have high expectations for their schools and learning environment. Side note, I wanted to let you know that I wanted to take this homework like a step further and make it a little bit more meaningful. So I asked some of my high school students, 9 through 12, their opinions on these terms and how they thought this applied to them as well. So here are the learning norms. I'll go through them super quick. Relationships, relevance, time, timings, play, practice, choice, authenticity, challenge, and application. So here we go. First one, relationships. As an administrator, I will help students to feel like they are welcome, respected, their voice is heard, and are a part of the community in our buildings. Some ways to do this. Work with the leaders, learning who the leaders are of, clubs, sports, fine arts, whatever the students are active in. Seek out who those leaders are to learn more. Meeting with groups of students and finding out what the students want in their school day. So, for instance, if the students want some sort of reward for good attendance, meeting with them, getting their opinion. And lastly, and most importantly, helping them to set goals. Number 2 is relevance. Students want to know, why is school relevant? As an administrator, I can help my teacher/staff to show students that there is a bigger picture to why they study the information they do. The coursework and its relationship to jobs. If you study this in math, that's related to this in the future, as well as English and so on. Teaching students that their school work can apply to life skills. So, a great example is in a high school fax room, you might learn how to bake a cake one day. How many birthdays are you going to potentially have to attend someday, or you need to bake a cake? So that's a life school. And most importantly, a cool one is PBL, which is project-based learning units. And it's where the students really take on their learning and they make it relevant to what they want. Number 3, it's time. This would be taking time to work one-on-one with students to find their level of skill, and in the importance to addressing the speed in which the material is worked on in the classroom. So one way a teacher could potentially do this is a pre or a post-test exam, finding out what they knew before and what they've learned after. Creating individual plans of study, and that's where you get to know your student and know exactly where do they fall test-wise. What do they want to do someday with their life? And then learning what is the best outcome for the student. Timing. And again, this is working one-on-one with kids to find their level of skill. It is extremely imperative. This would be testing students who would be in the high and low category. We could then create better plans of study for them. So for example, at my school, we have, for math in particular, we have high and low math classes at all grades, especially in middle school, but even when they get to high school, you can take college algebra for credit, and you can take college algebra just for school. The ones that take it for college credit take it up that college level. It's a little bit faster, a little bit more higher paced, while the ones who take it typically not for college credit but through the school, they're still learning the material, but they're not learning it as fast as pace, so that maybe when they do continue and go on to college, when they take it for college credit, the material is there, they've already seen it. So just working on the timing of what skills, of what kids need. Play. As an administrator, I would help to encourage students to find a balance in life. Are they getting enough extracurricular balance, or are they getting too much? Finding that good, happy balance between school, work, and fun. So, I feel like kids here at Oakley do everything, because we are such a small school. Not only do we have the same kids involved in the football and volleyball team, but they're in the school play, they're in band and choir, they participate in all these different clubs and activities, and then they still go to work. So making sure that our kids are getting time to have fun outside of just doing schoolwork. Practice. Taking time to really know the material is imperative. As an administrator, I would help my staff to know how to make that delicate balance between their students truly knowing the material and rushing it. Another good way to do this is an introduction and then a recap to your unit, which could be followed with a pre or a post test. And then, you could take that data and really study if the students truly understood the learning, they learned that unit or not. So, choice. As an administrator, this is something I massively strive for. I want my students to feel as though they are owning their learning. We are here to help them be successful on the path they choose. This would be classes that fit their future. So, kids who are going to go into trades, while yes, they need their math, science, English credit to graduate high school, we want to make sure we're also getting some of those skills, hands-on classes, because, they might not go the college route. So we need to make sure that their classes are what they need for their future, which is letting them choose. With that, again, I keep preaching this individual plan of study, but it is so important that, there's someone the student can talk to sit down and be like, I think I want to do this with my life. I think I want to do this with my career. So that plan of study. And in return, this is letting students have a choice in what they want to learn. I know especially at the high school level, it's easier because their schedules are a little bit more freer to decide what extracurricular classes they want to take versus, in middle school, they might only get 1 or 2 extra options. But letting them have that choice is what's important. Authenticity. This would be helping students to be authentic about their learning. Not only should they own their learning, but they should be able to show it. Show it, know it, teach it. If you know it, you can show it, you can teach it. So this would, we could do this in events that we welcome the community into the school. Or, if there's something in the community where we can send our kids to do the skills they've learned. So let's take home economics, for example. So our home ec class, the kids they will learn to cook something, and sometimes they take it to our local nursing home for them to enjoy. So that's an example of showing the community the skills they've learned. Challenge. As a future administrator, I want to make sure that the students are being pushed and challenged when needed. Again, I go back to this plan of study, but if we know the plan of study and where our students are, we can help to challenge them. And this is also teaching teachers how to scaffold the learning process. So this is something that I have to do constantly as a band director. For example, we might be playing a piece with a pep band, and I might have, my lead clarinets. They can play these crazy little runs, but then I might have a freshman who they are trying their hardest to get there, but by the time the show comes about or we need to play this at a game, they might not quite be there. So I say to them, okay, let's just cut out this. It's going to sound the same to a certain degree, but it's a little bit easier on your hands. So that's the scaffolding process. So, it still keeps it challenging for those who need it, but it makes it less challenging for those who also need that as well. And lastly, application. Once students have learned what they need to know, as a future administrator, I will help prepare them for their next steps in life. Understanding how their learning is more than theoretical, how what they have learned in school goes into their future. Again, plan a study, one of those things from the start. If we've had a plan of study in mind with our kids and they know what they want to do, these jobs, we can prepare them with the classes they take, and we also application of their skills, preparing them for college, for jobs, for if they're just going to get certain certificates or go to trade schools, applying for scholarships, and just life choices in general. So applying what they've learned. In conclusion, there are multiple steps that are needed to help students feel successful at school. Showing students how they can own their education, know their education, and show their education is very important. As an educator and a future administrator, I hope to show all students why it is important that they give school their full attention. So standard correlation. Basically, if the students are being successful in the classroom, that should help them to feel successful in other parts of their daily life. This helps to develop confidence, knowledge, and ability skills and to make good decisions. And when the students are feeling successful in the classroom, it's a whole effect. The adults are feeling successful, the teachers are feeling like they are contributing to the students' success, which is evident when the students are succeeding. So yeah. Relevant. This assignment was very relevant to my current learning. I was able to think and see outside of a perspective of a teacher and think about how my students would view these topics. I had to put myself in the shoes of my students and think about how they would feel. As I mentioned earlier, I asked my students some of these, and some of the examples I showed in my presentation for each slide. My kids had come up with some of those, that this is how these words felt for them. This is how these words applied to them as students. So that was my real world application, which made this assignment even more relevant. Lastly, reflection. In the future, as an administrator, I will make it an important part of my job to make sure that I know my students' needs and to feel successful and comfortable in their school. I would like to work one-on-one with students as much as possible to know what we can do as a staff to help them be successful. Again, I'm all about preaching about these plan of studies, but I truly think if the students know or have an idea of future careers, potentially, helping them to gauge what classes they need. So there's my assignment. Here is my resources page. Hope you learned something. Thanks so much.